We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insight, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are New Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Tuesday, March 10th here in Seoul. I'm Isujin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Ki.
Good morning.
Good morning. And also Julian's with us.
Good morning.
Good morning. And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So it's the second day of the work week, and we're going to talk about a social media trend. If you've been scrolling through social media, you may have noticed a wave of celebrities posting throwback photos from 2016. The posts have sparked a viral trend with people revisiting what many remember as an iconic year for pop culture, fashion, and music. So from old selfies and concert clips to nostalgic memories from a decade ago, users around the world are sharing where they were and what life looked like back then. So, Ki, how do you remember 2016?
Younger, more energetic. So for this episode, I was looking at all my photo albums back then on my phone. Gave me a lot of flashback. I still was working as a broadcaster, and I joined a startup venture. I started my very first film and drama work. So I appeared starting then in a lot of Korean dramas. And that was already my 11th year at Arirang. So I was younger, of course. Yeah, that's me serving in the military. I was active, better skin, better hair, more stamina. I'm going to stop there right there. Yeah, there was another me in a Korean attire, hanbok, doing some film work for a certain TV show. Yeah, I was definitely younger.
I mean, you worked hard. There are so many things, cool things you were doing back then, and you're still doing, and you look the same. So
thank you.
It's all good. What about you, Julian?
Well, I definitely didn't realize it back in 2016, but looking back, it was such an iconic year in terms of pop culture. Now, this is a year when artists like Rihanna, Charlie Puth, Adele, Justin Bieber, they all released hit songs that we still listen to a lot to this day. And social media felt so fun and innocent back then. We had Vine, the Mannequin Challenge, the Water Bottle Flip Challenge, and that pink cute filter that everyone used on their iconic Instagram posts. BuzzFeed videos and Snapchat filters were also all the rage. And I was actually back in high school in California in 2016, and American pop culture and trends were just so incredibly influential in my life and helped shape my formative teenage years. In my personal life, it also was one of the last years I truly felt like a kid. Now, I was actually preparing to go to college back then. Yep, that was me. I was preparing to go to college, going to my high school prom, going to the mall with my friends to get ice cream and boba. And even back then, like the restaurants like such as Cheesecake Factory felt like such a gourmet restaurant, which is just so fun to think about now. But I definitely had my struggles back then, but now when I look back onto it, I really do recognize this as one of my last childhood moments, and I look back on this time fondly. And it's really exciting to see how this trend 10 years later today is becoming a trend, and it's so fun to be nostalgic with random strangers on the internet.
So all of this really captures why this trend resonates with so many people. It's not just about the music or the memes, but about remembering a time in life that felt a little simpler and more carefree. So we're going to talk more about this, but first let's take a look at the screen. Looking back at old photos often brings a wave of nostalgia, reminding us of where we were and what life felt like at the time. Recently, one particular year has taken social media by storm as people, including celebrities, share throwback photos and memories from 2016. Today on News Generation, we take a closer look at some of the trends that defined 2016, what was popular around the world, what captured the spotlight here in Korea, and what we personally might do differently if we could go back to that year. As we just saw in the video, 2016 is suddenly everywhere online again, with people digging up old photos and memories from that time. So this nostalgia has now turned into a full-blown online challenge. So how big is the 2016 challenge, and why is it trending now, Ki?
Well, I'm a heavy user, right? So I've seen all those photos from back then. And from a cultural trend perspective, the challenge actually began with Gen Z in the English-speaking world first. So what we started seeing online were a flood of intentionally low-resolution selfies with a yellowish tint along with the slightly awkward-looking dog face filters, or like Julian was saying, the pink filter. The kind of aesthetic that almost feels a bit crude or nostalgic by today's standards. The trend quickly gained momentum after Kyle Jenner helped popularize it on social media. Once it took off globally, it naturally spread to Korea as well. K-pop stars such as An Yoo-jin of IVE and Choi of Red Velvet joined the trend by posting their own throwback photos, further fueling the craze among fans. And what's interesting here is the different generational psychology behind it. Many MZers, particularly younger audiences, view 2016 as a strangely nostalgic era. It represents a simpler time in the early social media age before today's ultra-polished aesthetics. That sense of longing is exactly why this retro-style challenge continues to resonate and spread online.
Right, so I follow a lot of these celebrities. I follow Kylie Jenner and Hailey Bieber, and for a while my feed was filled with those photos from that time. And people will say you had to be there to know how great it was. So yeah, it's bringing a lot of memories. So it's interesting how those old filters and low quality selfies, once just casual posts, are now being rediscovered as a whole aesthetic. But beyond the look of those photos, the nostalgia seems to reflect something deeper about the internet back then. So why do so many people feel that 2016 was a more authentic internet era, Julian?
Yeah, so many people, including myself, really do feel like 2016 back then was more of an authentic internet era. 2016 was a time when the internet was just simply less sophisticated and less commercialized than it is today. It didn't feel like every single social media post was trying to sell us something or advertise anything, and Vine was actually the perfect example of this. Now, Vine was a social media platform popular back in the day, and it basically just had 6-second clips where people post the most funniest and human-feeling videos, and it's really nostalgic to think about it now. Social media back then was less influenced by algorithms, and it felt like people were just connecting with each other more naturally. Many MZers remember 2016 as a more of an authentic and entertaining era compared to today, when unfortunately AI content is becoming more rapid and therefore losing the human feel when it comes to social media. Now, in the first week of January, searches for 2016 on TikTok surged by over 450%, and over 1.6 million videos reminiscing about 2016 have been uploaded. People miss when the internet felt more innocent, and with today's common struggles and fears that our generation faces, it seems really natural why people really look back to when they felt more younger and free.
Right, so those numbers really show how powerful nostalgia can be online. And of course, the year itself was packed with cultural and tech moments that people still remember. So what were some of the biggest trends and moments of 2016 that people are reminiscing about?
Yeah, so this is something I could go on and on about. So the popular augmented reality game, Pokemon Go, was released back in 2016. It was such a big sensation that people actually felt a really strong sense of community and spent more time outdoors, hanging out together and exploring parts of their own city that they otherwise would never go. I remember hanging out with my friends back in the day, going to the local park to walk and hunt for Pokemon. And it was really nice because we get sunshine and explore parts that we would never otherwise go to. And also, this was the year when Apple introduced their AirPods, which helped kick off the widespread use of wireless earbuds. The introduction of this product was so influential and huge because it really influenced how we use our phone 10 years later today. Every single smartphone now doesn't even have an audio jack, and we all use some form of wireless earbuds that was very much clearly inspired by the design language of the original AirPods. And also, when random social media posts became viral, it was way more impactful than it is today. Random people would post something on the internet, and if it became viral, they would just quickly become famous. They would get even invited to talk shows, and just simply for their posts. In 2016, people also didn't really meet through apps or social media the way that they do now today. So these are just all pretty much the highlights of 2016.
Right, it really was a time when both tech and pop culture were rapidly evolving. And here in Korea, 2016 also had some defining cultural moments of its own. So what trends or moments stood out particularly here in Korea?
Well, just to add that on to what Julian was saying, I still play Pokemon. I didn't really since then. It was, of course, because of my son. But I remember people flocking into Sokcho, Gangwon State because it was the very first state where they had some of the Pokemons allocated by the game maker. But from a broader cultural standpoint, 2016 was also a defining moment for Korean pop culture and technology. It was a period when groups like BTS, Blackpink, Twice, and EXO, those big names had just debuted or were rapidly rising in popularity. And BTS did come to Arirang, this very building, and I met them. Should have gotten an autograph back then.
That's incredible.
Yes, and K-pop had not yet reached its current global golden era, but the industry was clearly in a phase of explosive international expansion. The Korean film industry was also experiencing a strong wave of success. Blockbuster and genre films such as Busaneng, Train to Busan, and Goksong, The Wailing, drew massive audiences, demonstrating the global competitiveness of Korean cinema. Television, drama, soap operas were equally influential. Series like 도깨비, Guardian, The Lonely and Great God, 응답하라 1988, Reply 1988, and 태양의 후예, Descendants of the Sun became cultural phenomena across Asia and beyond. And of course, the 2016 was also a landmark year in technology. The historic Go match between AlphaGo and legendary Korean Go player Lee Se-dol captured global attention. In Korea especially, the match became a pivotal moment that dramatically highlighted the public interest in AI and the future of technology.
And 10 years later, like just yesterday, he had another competition with...
Exactly,
Yeah,
and now it's working with AI, not
Right.
going against them.
It shows how far we've really come. So looking back, it's remarkable how many global stars and major trends we now take for granted were just beginning to take shape back then. And to get a more personal perspective, we're going to hear from someone who's closely familiar with current trends. And that conversation will take place right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is Sophie from the US, who has been closely following the latest trends shaping social media. So hello, Sophie. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So Sophie, what was 2016 like in the US?
I remember it fondly. It was a simpler time. You were right. It seems to me at that time that everybody I was around kind of gained a social media consciousness. There was a pretty marked shift between probably the first of the year, really, where not a lot of people were on social media. Their parents didn't allow them access to Instagram or any of those platforms. But as soon as 2016 hit, I remember going to school and every day there would be something new. And the people who had phones were very special and everybody would crowd around and see what the latest trend was. And then the next day, everybody would be doing it. So for me, I remember it was a lot of fun trying to catch up with all of these different trends and see if I could participate in them at school. A very nostalgic time with my friends. A lot of fun, really.
So let's put you back in a time machine, and what do you miss most about 2016?
I almost miss how innocent social media was and how innocent the trends were at that time. Nowadays, a lot of the internet jokes and trends and culture all come from a perspective of the political time, a reflection of the almost dire situations happening all around the world. So in 2016, you could make any stupid joke on the internet and people would really enjoy it about anything, really. So I think very fondly about how we all just kind of thought everything was funny. The mannequin challenge, we did that and then everybody would collapse into giggles after that. I remember James Charles. I remember the dab became very popular. And those things aren't funny, but it was kind of a community-shaped experience, every trend was. So I really miss that feeling of community and togetherness that we got from following those social media trends, as opposed to today and now, where it almost feels like following trends is following the masses, or AI, as you said, is getting in there, and a lot of people don't like that very much. So I do miss in 2016 the way anybody could make a joke and could become popular.
Yeah, well, thank you for your response, and it was really nice to see your old Snapchat filters from 2016. To wrap things up, what kind of year do you hope that 2026 will turn out to be?
I very sincerely hope that we can see a shift back towards that almost innocent sense of humor. In the past even year, 5 years, the trend has shifted more towards maybe very popular celebrities or a very political driven senses of humor and trends. And I very sincerely hope that we can see a comeback of an internet community where we can all gather together around the same silly joke. TikTok doesn't have the same nostalgic, true internet feeling as Vine does sometimes. And it's very difficult to get everybody in on one trend these days, as there are so many different trends that different people are engaging with. So it's very difficult to keep up with all of that. So, as a nostalgic person myself, I do hope sometimes that I can get onto an internet where I'm less overwhelmed with current events, AI takeovers, and all the different trends that are staring me in the face. So here's to hoping for a little peace and stability, and along with that, a return of classic silly humor and internet culture while not everything is so polished.
Yeah, I like what you said about community, because I feel like back then, like for example, with YouTube, like people were just uploading all kinds of vlogs. You mentioned James Charles, like Emma Chamberlain, like all those, like, there's also like the whole internet apology that with people uploading apology videos. It was just a really exciting, I feel like, time looking back. So yeah, I also hope like this year will be a lot more, there's more sense of community. I think that's a great point. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing your insight with us too.
Of course, thank you for having me again.
Thank you.
So we just spoke with our guest about what 2016 was like in her country, what she misses most about the time, and what kind of year she hopes 2026 will become. But the bigger question is why this particular year resonates so strongly with the younger generations today. So why are people feeling so nostalgic about 2016, Key?
Well, if we zoom out a little, past decade for many MZers has been marked by an intensity of change that arguably exceeds what previous generations went through over several decades. For many young people, the 2020s opened with the shock of COVID-19 pandemic, of course, which effectively froze everyday life for years. Schools closed, travel stopped, and the entire social system slowed down. And at the same time, the rapid rise of artificial intelligence has triggered a new wave of anxiety with growing concerns that machines could one day replace human labor across many industries. And yeah, so against this backdrop, 2016 is often remembered by MZ audiences as a comparatively calmer and more hopeful moment. The collective memory, it feels like their period that was less anxious and more stable, a time when the global economy felt relatively less strained and social inequality seemed less severe than it does today. So perhaps most importantly, it was a time when many still believed that hard work could realistically lead to upward mobility. The lingering sense of possibility, exactly why 2016 is now being revisited with a kind of cultural nostalgia among younger generations.
So I think what you said really puts nostalgia into perspective, and 2016 may represent a time that felt far less uncertain than today. And beyond global events, there also may be a more personal reason behind this. So could it, Julian, also reflect nostalgia for youth and, I guess, more simpler times?
Yeah, it definitely does. Now, many millennials and Gen Zers who are now part of the workforce were actually teenagers or college students back in 2016. So the nostalgia is for a time of youth when life just carried fewer responsibilities than it does now, when the worries and stress just didn't carry as much weight as it does now. And by reminiscing about 2016, people are able to momentarily escape the weight of reality and return even briefly to a more carefree and happier time in the past. In some ways, it can also be seen as more of a psychological escape from the hardships of today's realities.
That makes a lot of sense. Sometimes nostalgia is really about wanting a brief escape from today's pressures. So let's turn that question to both of you personally. So if you could go back to 2016, what would you want to do, Key?
Buy Bitcoin.
Oh, that's a good
stock.
one.
by lottery. Putting all those jokes aside, I would still do the same things I do, work hard and do the things I've been doing. One thing I realize nowadays is what I've done in the past made me who I am now, and I can't go back to change the past. And then I just got to focus on what I do now and how I can look for how I can better myself at this stage in my life.
Right, looking at the photos you showed us in the intro shows you really did so much already. I can't imagine you having to do more.
Staying in there.
So what about you, Julian?
I really just want to give myself grace and patience with myself. Now, this is something I feel like I can definitely give to myself in 2026 now. But I think about back then in 2016 and how stressed out I was about my future. Back then, I was just getting ready to move to college. I was trying to save enough money to move out on my own. And I was just so worried about not getting to the school I wanted to go to, not ending up in the city I wanted to go to, and even just beyond with career, I was just really scared. But now when I look back, I just see a kid who was scared, and despite his age and like all the stresses that comes with being a teenager, I feel he really did his best to succeed and to work hard, and everything just works out in the end of the day. So as an honor for my past self and an honor for just myself currently too, I just have to have faith that everything works out. And I really just want to give myself grace and patience. And so I can look at myself in my mid-20s and in 2036, look back in my mid-20s and just see how much I've grown.
Yeah, I think it's really important to be kinder to yourself. And more broadly, to wrap this up, how should we view this whole nostalgia trend, Key?
Well, I mean, reminiscing of the past is something that everyone is free to do. It's just natural. In many ways, nostalgia can even serve as a small form of healing in our everyday life. There's even a song called 그땐 그랬지, right? But we got to remember one thing, 2036 will also be here. Then we may very well find ourselves looking back at 2026 with the same sense and eyes of longing that people now feel toward 2016. So if you want 2026 to be remembered as fondly as 2016 is today, then maybe the best thing we can do is make all our efforts to live this moment well and make these years just as meaningful and memorable.
When you said 2036, it really puts things in perspective. But it's really not that far away if you think about it. Like 2016 doesn't feel like it was that long ago. So what about you, Julian?
Well, everything that we just discussed, I have to agree. And just to add on top of it, I think it's really easy to look at the past with rose-colored lenses. Life felt more carefree, but the reality is we are just way more grown and we have better skill sets and tools, and the lessons that we learned makes us better equipped to handle the stresses that we were worried about back in 2016. So we should remind ourselves that we might have our struggles now in 2026, but we will learn to overcome it and we'll look back in 2036 with kinder eyes.
So as we've seen today, a simple throwback trend can say a lot about how people view the present. For many in the younger generation, 2016 represents a time that felt a little simpler and a little more hopeful. But nostalgia also reminds us that today's moments could become tomorrow's cherished memories. So perhaps the best takeaway is to make 2026 just as memorable as the years we look back on so fondly. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. But News Gen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time with more stories and discussions. Big thanks to Key.
Thank you
For coming in. Also, Julian.
Thank you for having me today.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for watching. And hopefully today gives you a photo for the next throwback trend. We are News Generation.